Hi guys, welcome to Wealthy Wednesdays. Hello, hello, hello. We're waiting for Facebook to come on down, or not come on down, but come on live. I believe we're live. Awesome, 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 awesome. One woman party. Hello, how are you, Island Girl? How are you doing? Let me see. Hello, hello, everybody. Diana Salgado, Tanny Aleva, the Balloon Maiden. Woo woo. Who else is on here? Hello, Meadow Flowers. Thank you for joining. Leo, Leonin, I can't even pronounce that right now. Carly. Anyways, welcome to Wealthy Wednesdays. If this is your first time watching, welcome. If it's not your first time watching, it's your, I don't know how many time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Landing Insurance in the house. I appreciate it, and I want to um, get right to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just kidding. I actually just got my lovely roots retouched, so I always love it when I get my stuff done. Anyway, so welcome to Wealthy Wednesdays. Um, oh, thank you guys. Yes, last week I want to acknowledge Velia, who did an amazing job. It was our anniversary. It was our 3-year anniversary, so we wanted to celebrate, and so we did. And I said I'm not going to do Wealthy Wednesday because we haven't really had parent time, husband and wife time alone. So I was like, I'm going to enjoy the time that I'm away. So, anyways, so thank you guys. I missed you guys too. La Guarita, how are you? Hello, Val. How are you? Fit. Oh my God. Fit My Life, how are you? So, I know all of you guys are super excited about the Dodgers winning. So, hey, to all my Dodger fans out there, I can't tell you like I'm a fan or I'm not a fan. I don't know much about baseball. I'm just happy that they won because they deserve it. And it's really awesome to see all the posts and all that. So, go Dodgers, and Lakers because we love the Lakers too. And there's Ayuda en Español. Just wanted to acknowledge you and say thank you for always coming through when I need you. And also thank you for sharing your knowledge in last week's topic. So just want to say thank you. Okay, so let's get with it. It's 7:03. For those that it's your first time, please post what city you guys are tuning in from. And for those that it's not your first time, you guys are already going to hear the spiel. But my name is Eva Macias. I'm the founder of Eva Macias and Associates Financial and Insurance Services. I'm also the author of A Latina's Guide to Money, which you can get on Amazon for $20, or you can just go on my website evamacias.com, give us your email, and we will provide you a free copy sent directly to your email. Make sure you check your spam, trash, promotional file folders in your emails because I tend to go there, and you'll get a free copy and you can just read it off of your tablet or your laptop or your phone or whatever that works for you. Okay, so that's that. And then also I'm the founder of the financial boot camp, where the model is you're worthy of having it all. So when you see those shirts that say you're worthy of having it all, high five someone. Just they didn't buy the shirt, they earned the shirt. And so it says a lot about them, because they've taken themselves on and they've been willing to do the work. They um, just they aren't just taking a class, guys. They're taking financial boot camp to better their life, to change their entire life. So again, for that, I just want to acknowledge all of the alumni who have taken the boot camp. And unfortunately, because of COVID, I hate saying that, but we won't be able to meet. But I promise you guys that as soon as we are in clear of the whole COVID situation, that I will make sure to have something fabulous for all of the alumni, so that this way we can get to know each other, see each other's faces, and get to know, because there's a lot of faces that I'm not familiar with. So I always love to connect physically with people. So God willing, 2021, I know, there's going to be a shift in this. So again, thank you guys for the alumni as well for being so patient, because we usually have two gatherings and we haven't had one. Okay, so what topic did we choose for for Wealthy Wednesday today? And actually, I want to acknowledge my husband for picking the topic for today in conversation yesterday about our homeowners insurance. Um, um, we were talking about the fires that are crazy, just the smoke, the bad air quality, the ashes all over our cars, all the things that are real right now. And so we were talking to our amazing insurance agent, and I wanted to shed some light on why we decided that this topic was important, and also bringing it to the services that I provide and why they're it doesn't matter what service you provide, it just makes sense to pay attention to this. And it's having the proper protection, right? And when you think of proper protection, what are you thinking about? So I'm in the life insurance world, right? In the financial planning world, in the wealth transfer, whatever you want to call it. When you transfer wealth, a lot of the very affluent people that I personally have as clients, they understand life insurance. To them, it's not a burden to have it. To them, it's not an expense. It's actually part of their financial plan, right? But having the right amount of life insurance and having the proper life insurance is key to many different things. One, to leaving a legacy behind, whatever that looks like. Two, sometimes life insurance is used for to cover taxes, and it's a tax, I can't say strategy, but it's part of the tax strategy, right? If you leave, $1 million and it hasn't been taxed, you're going to have to pay, let's just say 20-30% of taxes. Instead of taking that off from that, why not put in a life insurance policy in place that would at least cover the tax obligation for that? So again, this is not a strategy that everybody has their own way, and everybody's different, right? So not all life insurance companies are the same. Okay. Island Girl, I use a lot of different types of life insurances. One thing that is really important for you guys to know is I deal with A+ rated financial companies. So they get a grade, financial, like your kids get a grade, right? They also have a financial grade. If they were to pay out all the loans, if they were to pay out all their responsibilities, how much money do they still have? And so I deal with A+ rated insurance companies. Now, to say that when it comes to life insurance, not all of them are the same. I can tell you, even from a processing standpoint, I'm going through a situation right now where, there was a company, and I'm not going to mention which one, but there was a company that I used to use a lot back in the day when I first started. And little by little, their service just wasn't the same because they got bombarded with a lot of policies. And I decided no longer to use them when I can use another company that was maybe about $2 to $3 a little bit higher in price, but the service was on point. And so I decided myself personally that I was going to go with this company because the service is there and so forth, right? But they're both financially strong, but it makes a difference because you want, your questions to be answered when you're making a phone call. So that's one. Second, how are you properly protected? Well, first of all, I'll give you guys just something super basic. If you don't have a mortgage, how I calculate life insurance is like this. You get whatever your income is times 10 years. That's where your starting point should be. Now, the other thing is, can you afford that, right? So if you're making $100,000, this is just simple math, guys. $100,000, you need $1 million in coverage to cover for 10 years. However, if let's just say you have a mortgage, what we do is this is if you don't have a mortgage, it's 10 times your salary, your annual salary. And you can do it gross or net. I would do it gross in this case. But now, let's just say you have a mortgage. So now in that case, we only do 5 times your income plus your mortgage balance. So for example, you owe 500,000. I'm doing simple math, guys. 500,000 you owe, and then your income is still $100,000. We're going to multiply that times 5. That's 500,000. So then that adds up to 100,000. But let's just say your income's $100,000. Your mortgage is only $300,000 in balance. Then you only need a minimum of 800,000. Just because that's the lever, I guess you could say, of how much, that does not mean that you can afford it. Now, if you can afford it, fantastic. If it's part of your plan, fantastic. But at the end of the day, it's so important that you have a life insurance that you're going to be able to afford, and that you're going to be properly protected in all the different areas of your life. Meaning, I see this is very common. Mortgages, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 mortgages, and yet life insurance of $100,000. And then the household requires 2 incomes at the same time, right? The house is not sustainable without 2 incomes. So I look at that and I assess that based on my professional recommendation, based on, this isn't somebody trying to sell you life insurance, guys. If you think that that's what it is, then you miss the mindset of what wealth planning is about, right? Because it starts in many different levels. It's not just insurance, okay? So understanding that concept is really important, okay? So that's one. Now, there's so many different types of insurances. There's not one life insurance that's going to be best for everybody. There's multiple life insurances, okay? So which one do you know is right? Which one do you know, like, again, reputable companies. It's not that they're right or wrong. It's, are they suitable for you at that time of when you got it? And is important for you to continue to also assess the situation. Where do you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years from now, right? The goal is ultimately, to be able to enjoy your money, but at the same time be able to transfer your wealth properly. Now, also, I wanted to bring on, and hopefully he's on here, he's going to jump on here really quickly, my insurance agent when it comes to home. I'm not licensed to talk about homeowner insurance, but this is why I wanted to talk about this subject. You see how I talked to you guys really briefly about life insurance. That's a subject I can talk to you guys about, and retirement planning, and how they're not individually, they're actually meshed together. But everything that you do in your household is a financial decision. So right now, because of current fire conditions, I wanted to make sure that we bring on Landing Insurance, who, like I said, he's our financial person, or not our financial, our homeowners insurance, because when him and my husband were having a conversation, and then my husband and I were having the conversation about the value of having the proper protection with the right company for you. And the reason why we say that, and this was to me just like, and where the topic came about was, there are some insurance companies that will pay a service, and he'll talk a little bit more about it as soon as he jumps on, that will pay a service to go to your home if you're near a wildfire and spray some stuff on your home. I think it's like a jelly or something that would help your house not catch on fire. Because if you think about it from an insurance aspect, that's way cheaper than having to replace your home, right? Like, wow. Now, does everybody have that? Did you know that that was an option? I had no idea. Personally, I had no idea about that. And I understand, life insurance, but I don't understand auto insurance. Homeowners insurance. I understand it, but do we have that? We don't know until we come into these situations where we're like, well, I wonder if my homeowner's insurance has this, because you never know. Something that did happen to me in the past was, okay, he's going to be on here really quick. I'm going to accept him really quick. Flood insurance. I never lived in a flood zone, but I needed flood insurance because my house got flooded twice. And I had no idea, and I was not in a flood zone situation. So again, it's so crazy. All right, awesome. We got Mike on here. Mike, we could only see half of your head. There we go. Okay, great. We can see you now. Great. So, hello. How are you? Mike from Landing Insurance is on here. Let me lower this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. So on Facebook, I don't know how to do it on Facebook. So Facebook, we're going to translate what he says. I'll translate it, or I'll say it so that we can make it work. Only because I don't know how to do it on Facebook, and I just don't. I know how to do it on Instagram, but I don't know how to do it on Facebook. If you know, you can message me. I would love to do it again. So, Mike is from Landing Insurance. As I've mentioned, he's our insurance person to go to when it comes to homeowners insurance. Do you do auto as well?
Yes, we do. We do everything except for life, health, all the
okay.
Good stuff.
So auto, home, all that fantastic stuff, right?
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Mike, as I mentioned, you were talking to Remo, and then Remo was really the one that brought up the subject. The topic of today is understanding. Sorry about that. My phone says it's going to die soon. So, understanding how to properly be protected when it comes to homeowners insurance, right? And in conversation with Mike, first of all, where are you located?
So we have a remote office in Irvine, and our main office is located in Buena Park, California.
So Buena Park and Irvine, but he services all areas.
Sure.
Yep.
And some alternate states as well, so about 25 to 30 other states.
Oh, okay, great. That's great to know. So alternate states. So if you're listening from a different state, hey, there you go. I am going to post his information on this so you guys can later on have it. He's one of our resources from the alumni groups. We always provide Landing Insurance. And so anyway, so let's talk about today's subject matter. So today was having the right company protect you. And we were talking about like some of those A+ rated companies that just really take care of you. Yes, they might, cost a little bit more, but when you need them, they show up, and they show up like red carpet status. You know what I mean? So tell us three things of why it's important to have that proper protection, especially like with current events of like wildfires and stuff.
Absolutely. So there's so wildfire is just one aspect of it, and then like a little bit later, if we have a little bit of time, we can look into some of the storms and hurricanes and what some of these carriers did for those people as well. So, for example, you mentioned earlier A-rated carriers, right?
Yeah.
So these A-rated carriers, they might not always be the cheapest people on the block.
Mm-hmm.
They might exceed some of the online carriers that you go to and you get a quote online, and obviously, that's great and everything. However, there's a lot of things that are left out, or because you don't sell insurance, you don't understand insurance.
Yeah.
Typically, you might not choose certain things or certain policy forms
Mm-hmm.
that could really impact you later down the line, right?
Yeah.
So, what three things kind of we look for is policy form, right? We want to make sure with our carriers, we're always offering the best policy form. What does that mean to somebody that's purchasing homeowners or in a current event like these wildfires? Some of these carriers have built into their policies wildfire defense service.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll automatically know when these fires are triggered, and it's a third party essentially that goes out with their trucks, and they will determine where the fire is going. They'll work with local authorities, and then they'll actually go out to your property, cover your vents. They'll spray some type of gel on your roof and the outside siding of your home and on the shrubs and the trees. They'll cut down the trees and shrubs to try to prevent a loss from actually happening.
Wow.
Some of that stuff is automatically built in. Some carriers, Pure, Chubb, Travelers, Safeco, some of these carriers offer that on some of the higher value homes. And if your home is not high value, that's fine. You can always add that in for $30 a year or something.
Is it really 30? Sometimes.
Yeah, it's really
affordable.
It's really an irrelevant cost when you look at how much impact it could actually have.
And not only that, 30. Let's just say it's $100. Let's just overprice it a little, right? Because I like to overprice certain things just mentally. $100 a month. A lot of you spend $100 on Amazon for sure. Target,
exactly.
On shenanigans that you don't even need. And mind you, it's quick, I could see it, I want it, right? I spent $30 on this sweater, but if it came down to it and my house was gonna burn, trust me, I'd rather spend $30 on that policy than the sweater.
Exactly, and people actually experience that. They would look at their Ring app or whatever and see not a fire truck, but a green truck roll by, and they're spraying their house and kind of cutting stuff down. And obviously, they have to prioritize; it can't be everywhere at once.
Right.
However, for example, in the Silver Lake fire, they had in certain communities 10 of these trucks just surveying the area, working with local firefighters and kind of helping them assist. It's just an added service with these carriers. Sometimes you don't really, when you're going online, and we're not going to throw names, but there's online carriers that, hey, these are the best rates. I was able to get this rate or do this, but what are you really getting, right? You're saving $100 a year or something like that. But what are you actually getting from it, right? It's not just something, your home is your biggest asset or one of your biggest assets, right?
Yeah.
Insurance, if you look at the cost of the house versus what your insurance is worth and the correct coverage, because carriers will actually penalize you if you don't insure it correctly, right?
Yeah.
And
some lenders, sorry to interrupt you, some lenders, as I going back to my escrow days, they won't even fund a loan if you don't have the right insurance. They're protecting, they're letting you borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. They want to make sure they're protected. And another thing you said, and the key value of why it's so important to actually physically, I still love talking to people instead of I do a lot of things on my computer. I do a lot of things on my phone, but there's one thing that I enjoy is talking to people. Zoom, every time I have to change something on Zoom, I can never get a representative. I can never get straightforward answers. And that frustrates me because I'm I just need a little bit of guidance because, we're not all tech savvy. We don't all know all the, you're lucky I know how to open up email, you know what I mean, and set up my calendar. And even to that, I got to acknowledge all the assistants that I've had that have literally helped me set up. But the value of speaking to someone, and I want to also speak into this about saving money, because I always talk to people about, hey, save money here, get a second quote, da-da-da-da-da. But when saving money, you're not just saving money to cut corners. When you're saving money is, you may not need, everything on Spectrum, on cable TV. You might, have half of all the channels that you have and spend that money somewhere else where it's more of value. It really comes down to value, right? Where are you putting your money that's going to value everything that you're currently about and the lifestyle that you want to have. If in case of an emergency comes, you know you're like taken care of at the end of the day. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's just one of the main things these guys offers, and just kind of going back to like the hurricane season in Louisiana and Florida and Texas and some of these places, some of these preferred carriers, because not everyone has a secondary home, not everyone has family where they can go. These carriers actually send buses that with supplies and they're strategically located where they can actually provide supplies, provide shelter, help their policy holders like try to get to a safe place. And we saw that with the hurricanes, right? So they would set up these vans in Home Depot or wherever, and they would tell their policyholders, come here, we have like supplies for you and a place to be, and if you needed almost like, because again, how many times do we really prepare for tragic? We as much as we want to, life happens, right?
Yeah.
Life happens, and sometimes you don't think to have like an emergency bag or have all your documents in one place, and just life happens. And so these carriers kind of like, they understand that, and that's just another to deal with these preferred carriers and lenders like you were talking about earlier. It's super important. Yes, are they ultimately like a lot less? No, but they do, and you don't get insurance for, every day. You get it for when that major thing happens, or for your future, for your kids, or financial planning or wealth planning. That's why you purchase these things.
Yeah.
They're not there to take, that's why you have to, facilitate and work with people that are knowledgeable in the industry and that have been around for a while.
Let me speak into that as well. This goes to everybody. You know, the reason why you go to professionals is not to get what you want to hear, but to get the professional recommendation. You don't go to a professional to hear what you want to hear. You go to a professional to be able to give you what they know and the time, the hours, and the experience that they know that have happened to people. If Mike comes into my house and says, hey, Eva, look at you guys' home, I would make this recommendation because literally there's two big trees, this, da, da, da. I'm going to trust him, right? Because he's a professional. I'm not going to wheel into like, this is, like you said, this is our biggest investment. So we live here. If one of the investment properties went haywire, it's not affecting like me, you know what I mean? Like it's affecting the family, but at the end, I'm going to take his professional recommendation. I'm not going to say, okay, thank you, and then you never do anything about it. The reason why I say that and it's so important, you don't go to the doctor saying, oh, I already know what I have, doctor. You go to the doctor for them to, you tell them what you're experiencing, and they're going to say, this is a recommendation. Here's a prescription. You're going to take the prescription because it's your health. It's not any different when it comes to insurance. It's not any different when it comes to financial planning. It's the exact same thing, guys. The difference is, will you apply it or will you won't?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I know you had a few other things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, and then just a couple like items I wanted to touch on, and stuff that we see. Going back to like the whole preferred insurance carrier model. Some people know this, some people don't, obviously, but a major thing that these preferred carriers, if you have to evacuate, if it's mandatory, right? Some of these carriers will pay for that out of your loss of use or loss of rent if it's a mandatory evacuation. And some people don't know that, right? That's why you buy the insurance. If you have to evacuate or you have to leave the house, some of these policies, and sometimes they'll waive your deductible.
Oh, wow.
They'll actually pay for you. And, obviously everything within reason, right?
Right.
You don't want to, you're living in for example, a 2,000 square foot home. You're not going to go get a 5,000 square foot home, right? I mean, we got to be within reason as well.
Yeah.
So, some of these carriers, you keep your receipts, you keep all your documents, they know what's happening, right? And they'll go ahead and reimburse you for food, clothing, gas in some instances, rent, Airbnb, a hotel. They'll go ahead and do that for you, no questions asked, right? So again, it goes back to what kind of product do you have. Anyone can get a policy, anybody can get you something, but what kind of policy is there? Are you with different carriers offer different forms, right?
Yeah.
So there's a very basic form, there's middle of the road, and then there's these forms that offer everything, and it's all in the policy language. People, they hate insurance, and we've all had our issues with these insurance companies.
Yeah.
But it always goes back to, okay, what was covered? What did you buy? What did you sign on? And also another major thing is extended replacement costs, right?
Right.
Because sometimes, we won't see it added in there. It's like, hey, the house is insured to value. We don't need it. Well, what if you forgot to tell your broker that you updated the house, or there's unexpected costs that arise, or God forbid there is a fire and they have to build your house was built in 1940. They have to build it up to code today. There's all these ordinance and laws and stuff.
And
that
cost of goods goes up from
if you don't have,
1940 to now. Like the cost of even when we built our house, the cost of wood at the time, because there was a hurricane, I think in Puerto Rico,
exactly.
like the cost of wood was like, yeah, wow.
So, I mean, these are all things you have to consider, right? And I understand, like, people, you try to save, and you got to save. You got to look at it this way, right? This is your home. This is your asset. If you have to leave, would you be okay with some? No, you want something like in kind of what you had, right?
Yeah.
And that's very important with who you're dealing with and what carriers you're dealing with and what's in those policies and what those little tiny exclusions or those one or two words that completely shift the sentence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so these are things you have to be very weary of and very cautious of, because anyone could sell you anything, right? It's a matter of, going back to what you said, it's very important to deal with reputable carriers.
Yep.
And you can get the same thing. It's a commodity. You can get it from anywhere. It's the person you're dealing with that knows, that's gonna kind of explain and teach you, everything you need to know.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. And Mike is in the insurance world just like I am. Different, if you talk about house, I have no idea. It's still certain things that I'm like, oh my god, it's so overwhelming. But it's, hey, like, Remo will be like, Mike, what is this? Can you explain this to us? And he's like, sure, no problem. This is what it means. And there's times where we don't even know, and we're like, okay, what do you recommend? And he'll be like, this because of this. I'm like, great. We trust him. Work with someone you trust. Don't work with people you don't trust, period. Like, if you were to look at this and you're like, I don't trust them, then don't call us. It's that simple. But if you realize we're knowledgeable and we bring value to your home, there's probably something that you want to know within our network as well.
Yeah, and just to touch, companies are always changing, right? Laws are always changing. Fire zones are always changing. A carrier, certain carriers can experience certain things, and being able to deal with someone independent like you or myself that has access to, an abundant, 20 plus insurance carriers. You kind of see what each one does, and you fit because not every client's the same, right? Not everyone's in the same situation, and people have different things going on, and you got to be able to place those people where they belong, right? You don't want to place someone in something less than what they should be in, and vice versa, right?
Yep.
And a lot of these times when you go to these single carrier providers, I mean, they have to fit you within that model, right?
Yes.
Versus, we've seen, I don't want to throw anyone under a bus, but, we know who the single rider carriers are, right? The Farmers of the world, the State Farms, the AAAs.
And there's nothing wrong with them, guys, and we're not bashing them, but they all have a specific client they attract, and a client they're looking for. Right? There's specialties in certain particular cases. Mike did say this, and this is a thing that's really important. The beauty of not ever forcing one company upon anybody. And you can have, for example, Mike and I could have the exact same company, but a different form, a different policy, because his needs are going to be different. The company might have changed things. It's the same company. That doesn't mean it's the same policy. And that's important to understand.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, for example, like if I'm a broker, for example, and I have, certain carriers won't provide all products to all brokers, right? So there's different levels, right? So you can have essentially the same piece of paper, right? But it could say something different because this broker, they've pulled, certain restrictions from them, or their ratios are not up to par. And so they can essentially, like, you can have the same thing, but in essence, it's not. And just one last thing, going back to those direct writers, what we've seen a lot, and it's sad, is, for example, if I have a home with Farmers or auto with Farmers or Allstate or one of these direct writers, something to be worried about when you call your agent, and they're doing everything they can to help you, right?
Yeah.
It's not that they're not trying to do you a disservice, but they're very limited in what they can do. Essentially, what happens is hey, Eva, you call me Mike, and I'm a farmer's agent. Mike, why did my rate go up 40% or 30%? I've had no claims or losses, right? Uh, what am I going to do as a farmer's agent or a AAA agent or an Allstate agent or a State Farm agent? I'm going to start reducing coverages. I'm going to lower your liability. I'm going to raise your deductible. I'm going to put a water exclusion on there. I'm going to change the policy form, right? Because you can have a basic policy or a special policy, change the form, and that's a $300 a year savings, right? Just by changing the form. And instead of having an open peril policy, meaning, hey, we'll cover everything except these 3 items, is we're declining everything except for these 3 items.
Oh my God, that's huge.
So
that's huge. Just that in itself right there is so important. And again, we are not bashing farmers. We're not bashing State Farm. We're not at all. But we just want you to know for value for you and understand where you stand. Again, you know, I have friends that own farmers companies, and I have friends that own State Farms, and I have, you know, I'm still cool with them, and you know what I'm saying. But understanding really what he said, like the last part that he said, like they'll exclude everything, they'll just cover 3 things versus covering everything, excluding 3 things. You get what I'm saying? So it's important to have that. And I know Mike has to get to a board meeting, but I also want to say something else. In Spanish, I'm going to say this. El que compra barato, compra cada rato. If you haven't heard that, I'll translate. The person who buys often, the person who buys like cheap stuff constantly has to be purchasing instead of buying it or buying something that's worth you keeping. So don't be cheap and just keep getting cheap stuff, because you're going to keep buying. Versus if you buy something that's quality, you get a quality policy. You know what you get, and when you need it, it's there. Because the biggest thing that I always share with people is you needing the policy and the policy not being there, or you having it and you not needing it. I'd rather have it and not need it. Right? Just, I'm going to spend the money somewhere. I might as well spend it, or not even spend, but invest in that money that I know will protect the biggest asset of you know, physical asset. And I talk about homeowners because that's really important. And why did I also mention life is because your biggest asset is your life. Without you, you can't fund that home. So again, they coincide, like making sure that you have proper protection, whether it be home, whether it be auto, whether it be life, so that this way when things get when you need it, it's there for you, but it's there in a way that it's pleasant and you're like, oh my God, my insurance agent is the shit, you know, instead of like, oh my God, he did such a shitty job, because it's happened. And
to all of us.
Yeah, it's happened to me, you know, when my house got flooded. My property in Walnut got flooded twice, and I had no idea. I didn't have flood insurance because I didn't need it, because I wasn't in a flood zone, but my house got flooded. And so just learning how to understand that is really key. And I just want to say thank you, Mike, for taking the time first and foremost, because he also just had a baby. Well, not him, but his wife, you know.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and talking, and you know, it just, you know, whether it's with our office or any office, right? Just kind of look at everything. Don't take things, ask questions, right? Mm-hmm. You don't understand something, it's okay to ask.
Yeah.
Hey, what does this mean? What is this? My friend told, you know, it's okay to have these conversations. People shouldn't, you know, worry like, hey, I trust that you did this well. You know, just kind of look, question everything, ask, what is this? Why do I need this? And be comfortable first and foremost. Anyone could sell you anything. It's about being there and selling quality stuff.
Amen. Ayuda de Español just said quality versus quantity all day, every day. So if you guys have specific questions, you guys are more than welcome to reach out to Landing Insurance. I don't know if you're able to. I know I'll be able to post it up there, and I know you send me the information. I will go ahead and post it on here. Do you do bundle auto and home? Do you do bundles?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
and obviously that's what you always, and you know, I'll give you a quick example, because I got to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, if you can bundle your home and auto, you should always do that, right? But in some cases, you know, 20% of the time, it doesn't always work like that, right? Your house might be in a fire zone, or your house might be near a brush, or your house might be under the course of construction, or the year built and the care. So in some cases, they're standalone auto carriers, they're standalone home carriers. So yeah, you should always bundle them if you can, because the discount is substantial. However, it doesn't always work for everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, so yeah,
awesome.
You should, but you know, that doesn't work all the time.
All right. Well, I won't keep you any longer because I know he's got to get to a board meeting, and he was just
Thank you
nice
for
enough to
having me.
get
I
on
really
here. I
appreciate it.
really appreciate it. I hope we can do this again. And yeah, we'll do it again. So thank you, Mike. Have a good one. I
Thank
don't
you,
know how
Eva.
to undo this. I think we just push end right there, right there, right there. Awesome. Thank you. Landing insurance just left again. This is so important. I wanted to talk about this because I know I've learned. I'm always a student of life, and Mike is someone that we trust. And again, congratulations to Mike and Diane for having their beautiful baby boy, and he's super adorable. So again, taking the time away from his family is also really valuable for us because we understand time right now with the baby, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. So thank you for your time. I will be posting his information on here. If you guys want to reach out to him, you're more than welcome to. If you guys want to reach out to me, I can give you his phone number as well directly, whatever, but I'll post it on here. His name's Mike, from Mike Mayfaz from Landing Insurance, and just let him know that you found him on a Wealthy Wednesday, and he'll totally take care of you, even if you don't tell him you found him on a Wealthy Wednesday. But I just want him to know where you guys are coming from. And again, I don't get anything in return, and I'm going to be very specific about this. I don't say, hey, go over there because Mike's going to give me a referral fee or give me money. We don't operate that way. We respect each other's business. I refer him business because of the fact that he's a businessman and he's someone that we trust. And so I always tell him this: as long as you take care of my clients, that's the best thing you can do, and vice versa. So we respect each other's business, and we respect the business. We respect each other as business people, but also as friends, and just understanding our big mission of what we want to accomplish in the world with the businesses that we have. So again, yes, lo barato sale caro. As you guys all know, we appreciate your time. Thank you guys. If all of you guys have any other questions, you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me. And one last thing, the new dates for the 2021 financial boot camps will be coming soon. I actually started working on that calendar, and I'm excited to share those dates very, very soon. So if you guys want to get placed on the waiting list, you guys can send me your email, your full name and your email, and we'll place you on the waiting list so you guys can be the first ones to know when it opens up again. Okay? So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Wealthy Wednesday. Bye, guys.